So hello fellow Earthlings, this is Earthling 6455463728, and black people are oily. This is what comedian Bobby Lee said on comedian Whitney Cummings' podcast, and he said that he had said this on his own podcast, and it had gotten him into a little bit of a problem. And I thought it was just such an interesting story all the way around. So essentially, he said this on his channel, and, amongst the things that you could say about black people, this is like, I don't think it's anything at all. As a matter of fact, I think Whitney was like, if you'd said black people were ashy, that's worse. And yeah, I don't think that it's really that bad at all. And as a matter of fact, Bill Maher has said a lot worse. He made a joke when somebody was telling him about something that really he's a house N-word. And yeah, that was a lot. It wasn't like a joke about black people, but yeah, it was kind of icky. Anyway, what Bobby Lee said is that somebody approached him afterwards, and supposedly was a black woman. Maybe you could tell by their voice or something, but yeah, I don't know. Anyway, he said the person wanted him to pay them $15,000 or they were going to spread this around. And he was like, well, I already said it on my podcast. People already know. But the person was like, no, I'm really going to start spreading this around. You don't know. So anyway, he got booked for, I guess he ignored the person, and he got booked for a big job. I can't remember what it was, but I think it was kind of interesting. And while he was on the set, these executives came up to him and they said, can we speak to you privately? And then they asked him, did you say that black people were oily? And he said, no, I didn't. And they said, apparently, we heard you say that on a recording. And he was like, yeah, I did. I'm sorry. And they said, well, we knew about this before we even booked you for this thing, but we want to warn you that this person is going around spreading this information, so you might want to be careful. So he said that he went to his agent, and his agent said that, at the time, Bill Cosby was having some issues, and basically I think his agents said that they would take care of it similar to the way that they took care of things that Bill Cosby had problems with. And he said he never heard from the person again. Now, that's kind of scary to hear that agents take care of things so that people don't have to worry about them. He was referencing it with respect to lawyers. So it seemed like the agent's lawyers might have threatened someone, which I think is like, that's kind of... But on the flip side, aside from the threats, it could simply be that they paid the person off. They just gave them the $15,000 and said, if you come back, we'll make you sign an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement, and get away from us, So it could be that, which is, But by and large, it really didn't seem like such a horrible thing to say. I mean, if you said something stereotypical, like black people like watermelon, or black people like, chicken, which another comedian said, who doesn't like chicken? I mean, how is that even a thing? Even fried chicken. Who doesn't like fried chicken? That's ridiculous. But yeah, he could have said things that were a lot worse, and I think that it qualifies as kind of just weird and maybe funny at the time. But aside from any of that, everybody is oily, so that's just a silly thing anyway. And they were talking, as in Whitney Cummings and him, they were talking about the benefits of having podcasts. And, Andrew Schulz, another comedian, had said, what do you think about the fact that you've just come onto the platform a couple of months ago and you've blown up? Because honestly, she has a lot of videos that have around 500,000 views, which is really huge, considering. And she hasn't been even on the platform for a year. And she was talking about the fact that, of course, Joe Rogan and other people encouraged her to get on to YouTube. And I thought it was cool. But she said really it was because of Bobby Lee. Because at some point she was saying that all of a sudden when she was introducing Bobby Lee to go up on the stage before the pandemic, all of a sudden she would get this big roar when people would say his name. And then he was getting different jobs all about the place. And she really looked at this as being as a result of Tiger Belly. And it's kind of cool to see behind the scenes with these comedians. She was talking about, the fact that the amount of money that she gets from, or that she sees is available from advertising. And the fact that they were paying the comedian so little, it's just kind of blown her mind as to, having cut out the middleman or one of the middlemen, which is all of these executives that you have to please in order to get a comedy, a series or something like that. And I thought it's pretty cool to see the fact that comedians are taking their own futures into their own hands. And just like Joe Rogan says, he doesn't care about being in any movies, but Bobby Lee's like, yeah, I still want to be in movies and I still want to be in different things. So he doesn't have that particular attitude about it. But one of the things that I thought was pretty funny that he was talking about was that, we are all using each other, meaning all the comedians are inviting their comedian friends to come on podcasts and talk, and they're all using each other to make money by having these conversations. And it was just a really interesting podcast. He even mentioned the fact that on on Magnum PI, that this director had shouted at him. And he feels like he has more power now to say, yes, hey Andrew, if you want to come, we come on the podcast and we can talk about it. But you can't treat me or us the way that you could have in the past, where we were just the talent. Now we have our own base, and they're not beholden onto these executives that they have to kowtow to completely. And I thought it was just in general, it was pretty interesting, and I liked his being on Whitney Cummings' podcast, and I like his podcast as well. Like he said, there's just a lot more people that know about him that without anything related to an act. The people just know about him from his podcast, about his life, about his experiences, and yeah, he was talking about the fact that how at one point as a kid, how his dad just punched his mother in the mouth. And some of his other experiences, I think he was molested and his partner was molested as kids, and they're really they can talk about it, and they can even endure jokes by other people on it. Honestly, it's really cool between Twitter and podcasts now to know so much about the people that you would just see in movies, like Will Smith and all these other people, The Rock and whoever. So yeah, really cool.